This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
All right, good evening. Today is the 27th of March, 2024. This is the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of Easthampton. We have a hybrid meeting with members on Google Meet as well as in person. First order of business is public speak. Is there anyone here to speak concerning an order of business which is not on the agenda for this evening? Online. All right, nobody online. All right, so moving on to the Zoning Board of Appeals minutes for the February 28th, 2024 meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right.
I second.
Tony and Steve second. All right. Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion passes. All right. Our first public hearing is Magnolia Bake Shop seeking a special permit for a major home occupation as a farm stand for an associated cottage bakery subject to zoning ordinance 10.43 and 10.45. Property is located at 67 West Street in the residential SAR 15 zoning district. I assume you are here to speak concerning that matter. The floor is yours. Tell us what you want to do.
So the operation I'm looking to set up is coinciding with my licensed cottage kitchen. I'm looking to operate in the style of a farm stand where we temporarily, as in within the hours, we're operating, set up a tent and tables. Most of our traffic within the area that we had when we received approval from Board of Health prior to hearing from the planning board a couple weeks later was walking up from neighbors and such. So we don't anticipate to have a lot of car traffic that would be pulling up on West Street itself. Those who did at the time parked on Searle Street, which abuts the backyard of that property at corners west of Searle Street. And so we don't anticipate to have too many cars parking along the side of the backyard on that street. At most, probably 2 an hour. Most of the customers that we saw within the time were walking up. And we intend to operate between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. with tent and table set up with baked goods that I've made under my licensed cottage kitchen. And then after those hours, tearing down the tent. And that's the only time we're looking to set up that style farm stand operation.
And is this a Monday, just Saturday operation? Or
Just Saturday, yes.
Just
and
Saturday.
the only change that may happen is it may not happen during the farmers market months, just because I'm waiting to hear back if I'm accepted into the Easthampton farmers market. So it may not operate on Saturdays during that time, and then operate once the farmers market ends, pending weather and such, because I'll be at the market on Sundays. So I'll still be in Easthampton,
Okay.
just in that style.
All right. It looks like you've gone through and pretty well identified, covered all your bases of the criteria for the for everything there. All right.
So the cottage kitchen is open Monday through Friday to the 10 to 2. And then the bakery is going to be open on Saturdays.
So the cottage kitchen is operated basically on an as-needed basis as far as me preparing food. Nobody comes and shops or anything of that form aside from the farm stand style pop-up. So I take custom orders currently, such as like cakes and decorated cookies, and the customers only show up to pick them up and then they leave the premises. So it's not something where anybody's coming into the residence. It's just the outside farm stand on the weekends.
Thank you for that.
Okay. So your current operation is a delivery service or along those lines, and you are looking to do something where people could come and pick up.
Yes. The bigger picture goal, which I'm sure I'll end up speaking to you much further down the line, is opening a physical bakery in town. So if I have to come see you guys again for that, for any zoning that comes with that, I'm sure I'll speak to you down the road. But as of right now, I'm really looking to grow my reach within the community in Easthampton. I've lived here for Honestly, I think 7 years now. I moved out here several years ago, and my husband's lived here his whole life. And as much as I wanted to move and see new places, I kind of got rooted here with him. So the plan is to open a brick and mortar bakery in Easthampton, and part of doing the farm stand style is bringing my baked goods in a bakery style to the locals in the way that I can for now with my cottage kitchen license.
What are the hours you said for the pop-up?
Between 10 and 2.
Okay, on the one that's just open on Saturdays?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Any possibility for Sundays? Would you consider doing it on Sunday as well?
The plan currently, I don't anticipate that, but I also, if it's something for sake of having it covered right now, would love to have that covered as well in case something like that were to happen. If I do get accepted into Easthampton Farmers Market, I'll be here at 50 Basin on Sundays and potentially at the Amherst Market on Saturdays. If not, I may set up in Easthampton still on Saturdays. So it really depends on which farmers markets accept me.
Okay. Lisa, do you have any questions?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Is there anyone else here who would like to speak in reference to the applicant?
Say, I'm being put under pressure.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'll just point out, I did receive within the last hour, 2 more public comments, on this, both in support.
Support.
Yep, and then I remember Jeff, I went ahead and emailed you, those, so you'll have those as well. Fantastic.
Yep. All right. Well, it definitely seems to be a wave of support.
Yeah.
For the applicant.
And it's so minimal, I can't sell it to anybody.
Well, and that's really, the big thing is, obviously, letters were sent out to, abutters and everything like that. So, there's nobody here saying anything or arguing with anybody about it. So that's a good thing. All right. So at this point, we will close the public hearing for, if we have questions for you, we will ask you and we'll go from there. So amongst the board, are there any concerns that we have concerning the application? We're just going to read through the requirements for section 12.7.9 for special permit criteria for approval. Does the conformance with provisions of the ordinance of the city of Easthampton, general laws, Massachusetts, applicable rules and regulations of state and federal agencies, and that it does. Protection of city amenities and abutting properties through the minimalization of any detrimental or offensive uses or destruction of unique or important natural, scenic, or historic features of the site. I think we're pretty safe there. Minimalization of traffic or safety impacts of the proposed development, quote unquote, or adjacent highways or roads, and maximizes the convenience and safety of vehicular and pedestrian movement within the site. I think that the fact that it's on a corner, it does offer parking off of a busy road being West Street. I think that the hours of operation are so minimal, and during daylight hours, I'm not overly concerned about that. Does anybody have any concern about parking?
Saturday.
And it's a Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay. Adequacy of the methods of disposal of sewage or refuge and the drainage of surface or subsurface water. I don't feel that's applicable. Adequate means of protecting wetlands, watersheds, aquifers, or well areas. They're again unapplicable. Mitigation of adverse impacts of the city resources, including the effect of the city's water supply and distribution system, sewage collection, treatment system, fire protection, and streets. I don't think that's an applicable thing as well. Provisions of off-street loading and unloading of vehicles incidental to the normal operation of the establishment, parking, lighting, and internal traffic control. You do state that you will not be taking deliveries at the location. Is that correct?
Correct. And I assume that meant in-sense of deliveries of product supplies and such,
Right.
which won't be happening at that location.
Okay. Yeah, that's just for clarification for everybody.
Are you walking the goods out to from the home address or?
Yes, and as far as any supplies needed, like ingredients for baking and such, I don't have anything delivered. I go do the shopping myself. So that's really the only thing that comes in is ingredients and packaging supplies, which I shop myself and then bring back.
Okay.
Would change this one to not applicable then?
I think that, I mean, she's addressed it in her application.
Mhm.
So I feel that we're okay to leave what you have written there.
Fantastic.
That's okay. Applicant's efforts to integrate the development into the existing landscape through design features such as vegetative buffers and retention of open space or agricultural land. If you're not doing any development, so that's not applicable. Minimization of the area of which existing vegetation is to be removed, where tree removal is required. Special attention will be given to the planting of replacement trees, not applicable. The contingency of the development with respect to setbacks, area, placement of parking, architectural style, landscapes surrounding buildings and development, not applicable. Adequacy of the measures to prevent pollution of surface or groundwater, to minimize erosion and sedimentation, and to minimize changes of groundwater level, increased runoff, and potential of flooding, not applicable. And the last one, adequacy of the methods to ensure that the use will not constitute a nuisance by reason of unacceptable levels of air or water pollution, excessive noise, or visual flagrant structures and accessories. Except for your neighbors yearning for your baked goods when they're coming hot out of the oven. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Anyone dislikes the smell of bacon?
Yeah. No one is here to object.
Do you have any signage at all? Do you have any signs?
I don't have any signage currently. If I were to have any type of signage, it may be like a chalkboard with the menu written on it, but nothing that's a permanent structure.
Okay. All right. And by way of signage, there is signage regulations within the zoning ordinance pertaining to the total square footage allowable in a residential area for a home use.
It's 2 square feet, correct?
You read the
It should be on this side.
Exactly. So, all right. So, is there any further discussion amongst the board members concerning the applicant?
No.
All right. At this time, we will close the public hearing, and can we get a motion for approval?
Make a motion for approval.
I'll second it.
Second. All right. Any further discussion?
No.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
It looks unanimous. Congratulations. At this point, Dylan will be so kind as to write up the decision, which is pre-written, actually. But for the most part, we'll go through everything. It will be then sent to the city clerk, at which point it will be stamped, and there'll be a 20-day appeal period. If someone was not here, finally caught it in the wind, said that doesn't smell right, stuff. And after the 20-day appeal period, you will be notified, and you can then go to the Hampshire County Registry of Deeds. And once that has happened, you're cleared this hurdle. Not sure what other hurdles you have to cover. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right.
Thank you for your help.
You are free to go. Thank you. Good one. Okay, moving on to the next agenda. Yeah.
Like, what's the address?
Go with the Saturday.
Well, she does have a kitchen.
Yeah.
And you could go and you could order something.
Yeah.
And go from there. So, all right. So the review of the ZBA procedures, Dylan and I met, just to make sure that everybody was on the same page concerning the rules and regulations. Basically, they're all pretty straightforward, concerning, the authority that we have, and what our role is within the whole hierarchy of the judicial, if you want to call it that, or appeal process for this. Basically, if folks are not allowed to do something either by right, which is in the zoning laws, or has been struck down by the building inspector, they then come to us for an appeal. So that is our role. Our role is to be very diligent in making sure that if it doesn't fall within the lines, how far outside of the lines is it? And we, in our minds, feel that it is acceptable enough to say yes or no from there. Not necessarily carte blanching everything that walks in the door. We have, as some of you know, had situations where we've had to say no. You know, for the most part, we say yes, but we do reserve the right to say no. The quorum, this is a quorum because we do allow for online participation. We need 4 people to have a quorum, whether they're here in person or via web. So that is always a good thing. That does allow for more people to participate. And I'm not sure, is that it now going to stay this way for a longer period? I know that, when they first passed that law to have online participation, it was obviously because of the pandemic. Post-pandemic, we said, okay, we can have hybrid meetings. Do we see any point at which that's going to go away, or is it working so well that why bother?
It's something where last I've checked, it's still being done on a temporary basis, but it's more so, from what I'm hearing, it sounds like any extension of the temporary is just until something permanent comes along. So as soon as we come up to an expiration, it'll be another 3 years kind of extension till.
Okay.
So it's looking like it's here to stay.
I think at this point where we've all kind of gotten used to it.
Yep.
Yeah, it is what it is, as they say.
I am on another board and we all meet person,
Okay.
so we don't have any Zoom sessions.
Right.
I personally don't like Zoom, but I won't be the one to be like, no, people that want to be on Zoom later, like, I don't want to be the one to say no, but I don't like Zoom. In court, we have it, and now it's like, it's only if it's like absolutely needed and someone's like sick or something like that.
Right. So I don't know. Yeah. It frustrates me when you have a one-on-one meeting with someone and they're in the same building.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
This is what happens when the judges are like, what are you doing? You're right next door.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but for now, it is still allowed. The conduct during meetings, I think it's important that we hold ourselves in a level of decorum, that we understand, at this point, as chairperson, I'm supposed to run the meeting. I do expect active involvement, but I also expect that, if you have a question, you just, raise your hand or say, hey, but not blurt out. There is something in here. So moving on to the procedures of the meeting, I just want to make sure that there was something. Yeah. Okay. So the procedures, obviously we have the agenda, the applicant, I tried to follow this pretty close today. I by way of, we introduced the product or the item on the agenda. The applicant presents, we have discussion, inquiry, we ask, it is important that the applicant only address the board. If it's best, we occasionally will have situations where neighbors will question the applicant. That's not allowed. The board, or the public may ask the board a question, and then we in turn ask the applicant, but we have to try our best to avoid neighbor to applicant or contestant to applicant. Yeah, it's sometimes difficult. It's just it is, it's just important that we all understand that. But then, once we're done and we feel that we have enough information, then we can close the public hearing, allow for public comment, and then discuss amongst ourselves. And then if there are additional questions, we go through any sort of certain criteria. Like this one was a special permit, so for a major home occupation, which is why there was that list of questions. Those are the requirements for that application. From there, then we have further discussion, and then we can vote to approve or deny. All moving on to motions. All motions must be made in a positive manner. It is that, you have to vote to approve, even if you know it's not going to pass. But the idea is that you always make a motion to approve, and if everybody agrees it shouldn't pass, then everybody votes no. So there's no confusion like you get with the public questions on voting day, where they ask the question backwards so they can trick people into voting the way they want them to vote. So that's just the way the rules are written. So there is the opportunity, if we are having a public hearing and we want to see, how do people feel about how this is going? Before an actual motion is made, a member may ask for a straw poll, a non-binding straw poll, kind of test the waters. Do we feel that this is going in the right direction? Or do we feel either we need more information, we need to wait until we see, something that's going to change somebody's mind? So you may ask for a straw poll vote. It is non-binding. That's the only thing. So just understand that just because somebody says yes during the straw poll doesn't mean you're held to that vote when the motion finally comes through. The decisions and amendments, obviously, if we do put any conditions on the decision, like if we'd said, hey, look, we probably, and this is something we should have done in this one, where she only asked for Saturday. We could have said, we give you permission to operate on Saturday and Sunday, because right now her application is only for Saturday. She can only operate on Saturday. But if we had said, we want to make a condition that she can operate on Saturday and Sunday, that needs to be on the record and included during the decision-making process. So as it stands right now, her application is for Saturday only. That's when she can operate. So it is important in making decisions that we make the right decision for the applicant in a condition with the conditions. Because if we just say you can do whatever you want, we just let go of the reins. And that's not our job. Our job is to try to keep things as close to in the line as possible. Once the decision is made, Dylan writes up the decision. It then gets reviewed, signed, handed to the city clerk. City clerk then stamps that there's a 20-day appeal period. After the 20-day appeal period, the applicant is notified. The applicant has to go to the city or county record of deeds to make that record. We are not responsible for any of that. Filing deadlines are pretty straightforward. Those are all, you're pushing that from the planning department. Not really part of what we have to do. Same thing with the legal notifications and application fees and everything like that. And the timetables. So something that is in here is a peer review or outside consultant. If we find that we are not in a position to make a decision, we do not have the information we need to be able to make a decision, we have the right to hire outside counsel, consult, and that's well within our purview. So we do have a potential for Title 41B application, which would then, in there are certain requirements. I know, Tony, you went through the last one, correct, for Parsons Street? Mm-hmm. And there is a very strict timeline that's set by the state. And when that happens, we have so many days from once okay, here's my application. we have so many days to acknowledge the application. From there, once we've acknowledged the application, we have so many days before we hold our first hearing. From the day of the first hearing, we have so many days until we make a decision. It's all very, very regulated. So we have to make sure that if one of these comes in and we have to do this, that we're all under the understanding that we may be meeting twice a week, or twice a month instead of once a month. We'll have meetings upstairs when that happens, because inevitably there seems to be a lot of people that come out of the woodwork for it. In situations like that, that is where the special outside consult, peer review, things like that comes in handy. So we can use that. And then just the code of ethics that we should act professionally and nicely to each other.
I agree with that.
So anybody have any questions, concerns, thoughts? I just kind of ran through that. That was the, I don't know, is it Cliff Notes? Is it Reader's Digest? Is it, what's the TikTok version now? What's
Yeah, I wanted to ask as well, the draft conditions there.
Yes.
Do you find that helpful to just put that together kind of ahead of the meeting?
Yeah, and if there is something that you're not sure about, please feel free, obviously some of them where they're not applicable, it's just not applicable. But if there's concern or question in your mind, leave it blank. And then we have to have that discussion. That's our job.
We do have coming down the pipes, we all know the 40B it's coming to us. Still no updates since the last one. Still just coming. But how that one goes. Well, this one goes upstairs. I think we're gonna get a lot about from the public. We may also, I don't want to go into any detail until it really comes and you folks can see it. If it comes to you, we may get an application, one where this is one I've been working with the applicant based on my reading of zoning. It points them towards the zoning board of appeals, but in my reading of zoning, it's still not allowable by zoning. If it comes to you folks, this would be a case where I'd be putting together the documents, but the opinion of the planning department would be it's not allowable in zoning. That's why we have a zoning board of appeals. That is not the planning board. You folks might agree with me, you might not, but that would be a case where I'd be putting that forward. And that would be one where there definitely need to be some heavy lifting on the ZBA's part to really make those findings, because this could be a case coming to us where the applicants, rather abutters, may be very vocal in their opposition, and one where the planning department would be inclined to agree with them. However, rulings on, I think these more contentious ones that might come to us, to really make sure everything is done by the book, to make sure whatever decision, whether it be the applicant or a denial, at least everyone can say they felt heard and we're making, something.
The important part, especially if we decide to issue a decision, whether it is a minor whatever, a major home and business, but especially a variance, we have to make sure that we have dotted our I's, crossed our T's, put a line across the Z, a little squiggle on the Q, everything. Because if it is a contentious decision and it does get appealed, we have to have something that we can stand on, that this is how we made our decision. And we can't willy-nilly just, yes, go ahead, do whatever you want to do, because that doesn't fly. And then we lose all credibility. So.
Understood.
You ready?
The 40B is the low-income housing that's coming in, stuff like that. I would encourage, I actually read through the rules a couple weeks ago, and I don't remember I really was interested in it for some reason. So I actually read through it. I would encourage you guys to take a look if you can, because it made it seem like, and I think I said this at some point, but our votes are going to matter a lot with that. And
yes.
Like you were saying, it has to be well reasoned. But it sounded like they were also going to be sort of keeping track of, like, I don't know about what the votes are going to be specifically or who's voting what way, but like they're going to like go through it and check to see like how you arrived at your votes and stuff like that. It sounded like a project the governor really wanted to push through, so they're going to be keeping notes on it for sure. So I advise you to read through the rules if you can. It's arduous, but
There are, I know that occasionally I will receive emails for training classes through either Pioneer Valley planning or community for
The CPTC, the
Yeah,
community planners, something.
Right. And I actually remember probably 10 or 12 years ago going to one. This was so long ago. This was back when there was a hotel at the corner of 91 and where Atwood Drive now is there. Yes. So, but it was how to review and what is expected during a 40B application and review period. And it was very informative. It was very eye-opening, actually. So, hello, Kat.
Yeah.
A newest member.
Yeah, he wanted to join for the discussion.
There we go.
Was anybody, is it everyone familiar with what happened in Hadley with their 40B? Did anyone follow that case?
No.
No.
So what had happened there, you can check this out in the Gazette as well. They had a friendly 40B solicited by their town administrator and their select board. It came before their zoning board of appeals. They were able to invoke safe harbor, which we are unable to do so. That's if you have 10% of your housing stock marked affordable. Gives you much broader ability to deny or put on conditions. We don't have that, so we don't get those same protections. If we were to deny or put on onerous conditions, they're able to appeal to a board, a special body, I forget the name of it, but essentially they'll say, no, you can't do that, and then essentially side with the applicant. But in the case of Hadley, they did have safe harbor, and the ZBA ultimately decided to deny that 40B because there had been some public opposition to it as well. The ZBA didn't feel it was their, they should be the ones making that decision, I believe was the reasoning that they gave, as they're not elected politicians, and they denied it. The town of Hadley, because they were the ones who solicited this 40B, ultimately decided to not contest the applicant's appeal. So it got appealed, overturned an appeal because Hadley didn't show up to defend the ZBA's decision, which ultimately led to no restrictions being put on this 40B. The process is much more of a collaboration to try to see, fix or address specific issues. And then Hadley gave all that up by denying that 40B and then it being overturned in court. So it's, the big one to be careful was because if we get something wrong and it gets overturned, we lose our ability to put in non-onerous conditions and things like that.
Right. So the 40B is basically an opportunity for us to help guide what we would like to see in the development. I know that when the Parsons Street application came through, there were neighbors that were very concerned, and we tried our best to listen to those concerns and work with the developer and designers and everybody like that to try to get it as nice as possible for the neighbors. It's not a fun experience. You do not make friends. At least we didn't in that one. But at the end of the day, we don't have much to stand on to say no, because we do not meet the 10% threshold. So the best we can do is how can we make it as digestible as possible for the community.
Constitutional problems with that.
What's that?
Constitutional problems with that.
I understand. So but that's what we know there. Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Thoughts? There. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Anybody object? Go home. Thank you.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.